Hello and welcome. This is going to be the first video of the year from me, your host Neko, and this is going to be a video where I talk about, well, this is going to be a follow-up to a video I did a week ago, which is my thoughts in relation to Andy Edwards and his views on the future of music. And of course, I give my thoughts on what I think would happen with the future of music as well. And not only is this video going to talk about this, it's also going to talk in relation to Rick Beato and a couple videos he's done. And while it would be better if I were to just finish the video that I am working on, which as you see there, which is what I view with modern music and how modern music is shaped, I found that I am making too many cuts and stuff like that, and that's just coming along rather messy. So that is going to be, I'm going to just have a huge rewrite of that. Now with this video, before I get into what I want to talk about, I have also watched a lot of people who have their criticisms of Rick Beato. They view him as a cynical and a curmudgeon. Me, I think of it more as a skeptic, simply because, yeah, he questions a lot of things when it comes to modern music. And while I do believe he doesn't notice everything at the same time, a lot of it is more in relation to pop culture. And there are a lot of things that have definitely changed with pop culture in relation to music. And this is going to be, of course, the video where I go into that. However, I do have to point out that a lot of what I'm going to talk about are some things that Rick Beato has expressed some levels of skepticism of in the past. And while I don't know how he views things now, at the same time, this isn't going to be a thing to dog on Rick Beato or anything like that. I just think that this is something to talk about in relation to pop culture and pop music and stuff like that. And I'm going to start off, surprisingly enough, when it comes to soundtracks. And yeah, years ago, on the channel Every Frame of Painting, wait, is that it? Yeah, that's the name of the channel. There was an upload of a video called The Marvel Symphonic Universe, and a whole bunch of people, also like 5 or 6, I think, have done their response videos to that video. And one of the big things it goes into is how there are fewer musicians involved when it comes to soundtracks, and what goes on when it comes to live action movies where there's fewer musicians involved in the soundtrack. I just see the same thing when it comes to pop music and pop culture. We're seeing less and less of boy bands and bands in general, and more of singular people, or at most a duo. Some people trying to do the thing that Daft Punk does and stuff like that. So we do see a lot more of that when it comes to pop music and pop culture. However, the bulk of other stuff when it comes to music in general, that doesn't go into pop culture. And I think a large part of that is because, part of it is just not just skeptical views that people have of soundtracks, but also cynical views as well. One such, I believe it's Theodore Adorno, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's him who said it, that how soundtracks are for the lesser intelligent in the audience. Something I strongly disagree with because, well, what is musical theater? What is an opera? Operas exist, and there's a lot of people who take their inspirations from opera and musicals and put that into their video games and animations. And even without that, some people will do things that's just outside of that and just do their own original songs. Like we've seen this with Queen with Bohemian Rhapsody, for example. You got this song that tells a story, as well as Charles Daniels' band with the song "Devil Went Down to Georgia." That song, like both songs, have a lot of storytelling in the music. And so it seems like an absurdity, but there are some people who will say no to this about the whole thing, like storytelling when it comes to music, and that being a good thing with the movies. And and why there seems to be this cynical take when it comes to movies. Sometimes it's a cynical take, sometimes it's just a skeptical take of like, and when I say skeptical, I'm talking about the idea that people may not be paying attention to this. And I can understand that. I can even understand the cynics about this idea that's for the lesser intelligent, because there are a lot of people when it comes to film and animation and basically any sort of media, even when it comes to music itself, they don't care about, they don't want the immersion or engagement. They just want spectacle. Matter of fact, Carl King has spoke about this, and I in turn did my own videos in relation to what Carl King said. With such things like listomania. You got this spectacle going on, and people paying attention to the spectacle without much care for the music. And I do understand that. There are those who just want spectacle, and that's it. But outside of those, you do also have the enthusiasts and the hobbyists. And the thing when it comes to enthusiasts and hobbyists, they have a unique passion to it that those just seeking spectacle just does not have, you know? And this is where it comes into why I want to talk about Rick Beato. Although before then, I know some people may want what I mean by those who are enthusiasts and such. Quick example here, this is from a playlist that I'm building up. Got Josh, who was in the Marine Corps band, talking about one of his favorite video game music. Marco, who was an opera singer, and then you got music producer Alex there, who's talking about music he enjoys in video games. You got these people of a high quality understanding, have a higher understanding of music, who talk in depth about the kind of things they find enjoyable, that's interesting. And of course, you got a whole bunch of other people who are the same way. But yeah, back on topic with Rick Beato. Why get into all of this? Because of the videos that he put out, the two videos that you see the progress bar on. First is the end of music genres. And while I'm not going to say that music genres are ending, I do think that a lot of it is that what's going on with pop culture is excluding a lot of music. A lot of it, like whatever would end up being like the next Bohemian Rhapsody, the next Devil Went Down to Georgia, and the like, that's going to end up being outside of pop culture. And an interesting thing that I noticed, especially with what Rick Beato was talking about, is that it does seem like there is this end. Like, you're not going to see major genres becoming a large part of pop culture. And I don't know why my bird's going crazy. My apology if you're hearing random squawks. It happens whenever there's traffic outside. So, as I was saying before I got a bit distracted there, when it comes to the whole thing with pop culture, a lot of music isn't going to be recognized. Especially since the bulk of people, when it comes to pop culture, is more into spectacle. They are not the enthusiasts, they are not the hobbyists. And I also include hobbyists because when they want to get immersed into whatever media they enjoy, they go into depth of everything, not just what is looked at, not just what's written, but also what music is put to it. And I think a good way to talk about this is in relation to animation, which would be Nightmare Before Christmas. Now, of course, that was like huge when it comes to pop culture. Still kind of huge, but not as much as I hate to say, because Nightmare Before Christmas is one of my favorite animated films. But yeah, a large part of what makes it great is its soundtrack. Right from the beginning, we got This Is Halloween, in which case you not just get an introduction to who the residents are, but just the tone of itself, not just the vocal tone, but also the instrumental tone. Both give a sense of atmosphere to what is to come. And of course, so there's a little bit of other things, such as how when Jack Skellington goes into Christmas Town, And Jack's song is filled more with whimsy, which is something that we associate with Christmas, whimsy, you know. And of course, there's Oogie Boogie and just the tone of it, not just Oogie's voice, but also just the instrumentation as well, and the backup singers. When Oogie expresses his disdain about people making a big deal about Santa Claus, little things like that when it comes to the music adds to the atmosphere, adds to the storytelling. But of course, though, when it comes to those who just want spectacle, that's not important. And then just that, there's also the biggest disrespect that I see in music, because in Rick Beato does have a point when he talks about the whole thing that bothers him with yacht rock, because there are a lot of people who view certain music as being just for the elites and nothing more. But there is also other terms that people throw out there. And while this does relate a little bit to video games, especially with Sonic the Hedgehog, which has some vocal songs to get people immersed into this game world or the story of the game that's being presented. Songs like Live and Learn, His World, and a whole bunch of others. I'm not going to just list them all because there's too many to list there. But yeah, a lot of people look at that along with other music that isn't in video games and call it butt rock, which had confused me. Like, what associates this music with the anus? Until I looked it up, and as it turns out, a lot of people say, well, if it's made by middle-aged people and middle-aged people enjoy it, then it's butt rock. And it's like, and then people come up with reasons why they don't like the music. And it has nothing to do with Sonic the Hedgehog, because like I said, you got a lot of other people, like a bunch of bands made up of middle-aged people who create music, and they happen to have a middle-aged audience, and there are people out there who will look at these indie bands and go, that is butt rock. I am not listening to it. And it's like, why? Why not just open your eyes? Open your heart. Okay, yeah, that's another Sonic song. But yes, there is the fact that you got these people who will disregard something and just not bother with it and come up with weird names like yacht rock and butt rock just to exclude it from whatever their library is. And I think this is what's shaping up pop culture in the worst, and why we don't see a whole lot of different songs come out that becomes pop music. Instead, what we have is whatever is comfortable or whatever is for the spectacle and nothing more, which is also probably why a lot of people would favor WAP over something like Whack World. Even though some people may look at Whack World as a little too artsy, but me personally, I think it's a very well done and interesting story. But yeah, I think that's the big thing when it comes to pop culture and what's shaping up pop music, People in it more for the spectacle and none more. If you want something that's more engaging, you're going to have to, when it comes to music, look outside of pop culture because it's not going to be in there. Sometimes something will get big and become recognized by the audience, something that proves to be more than spectacle, but that's becoming rarer, and that's becoming a more rare of an instance to view. And that's basically my video on this. I do want to thank Andy Edwards because of the previous video, the last week's video that I did. I didn't really have an idea of what to do until his video, and thanks to Rick Beato, because like some of these opinions I do think is something to really get into talking about, so we could get to really talking about what is out there. So that's it for my video. I am your virtual host, Neko AV, and I do thank you for watching.